Hey guys, thanks for taking time out of your day to watch this video. My name is Mike Sumler, and I am a therapist here at the Joshua Center. I've been here since February of 2003. I have a license in marital and family therapy, and basically what that means is that I kind of take the whole picture of a kid into account and make sure that I can see both what happens at school as well as what's happening at home and their role in life. I wanted to give you a little bit of a sense of what a conference with me might be like. I feel like you can do that through a video a little bit better than anything else. I want to tell you a couple of quick stories. One was my first experience with our Joshua Center camp. I was standing in this setting where there was about 60 kids sitting around on picnic tables inside a pavilion, and I see one kid say to the other, "Hey, do you have Tourette syndrome?" And the other kid kind of looks at him and says, "Yeah." And the other one says, "Cool." I thought, where else has that happened except for at Joshua Center Camp? Here's a place that kids are feeling accepted for who they are. And really, since I started, I always say that I have gotten all of my education from working with these kids. I see about 30 to 35 kids a week with high functioning autism, what we used to call Asperger's syndrome, Tourette syndrome, OCD, ADHD, as well as anxiety and depression. And mostly before I started, I didn't know a lot about those disorders. I was real interested in trying to figure out what was going to work best with these kids. And so I've really grown to have a passion for them over time. I love the fact that they're so raw and they pretty much tell you whatever they're thinking, no matter what. I find that somewhat refreshing, even if we're not really ready to hear it. I have one story where I had a 16-year-old client with Asperger's syndrome before he left my office, kind of turned back to look at me, and he said, "Are your pants pulled up really high, or do you just have really long legs?" And I probably gave him this look like, "What do you mean? My pants are fine. My legs are fine." And he kind of quickly looked down at the floor and then said, "Oh, was I not supposed to say that?" I love being able to work with those kids and help them find perspectives from the other kids and from other people and be able to incorporate that into the decision making that they have. I wanted to give you a quick example of an intervention that I use. Not that it's mine particularly, but just an example of my perspective and how we use that. So let's say you're working with a kid that's really impulsive and they are bebopping kids and hitting them and grabbing them and headbutting them and doing all kinds of different things while they're coming in from recess. A kid that has probably been diagnosed with ADHD and is very impulsive. Well, the nature of impulsivity basically means you can't think before you act or say something. But one of the things that we use as advice for these kids all the time is you need to think before you speak. You need to think before you act or do something. If they had that ability, then they wouldn't be impulsive. That's like telling someone who's sitting in a wheelchair that, listen, buddy, getting up and walking is easy. All you got to do is put one foot in front of the other. It's a very easy concept, but not so easy to implement depending on your ability. And so one of the interventions that I encourage teachers to use is when a kid is coming in from recess, we need to give them a crate that they can hold in their hand. And we can put a bunch of books in them, books for the rest of the class, or ones that they can use while they're at recess, or the lunchroom, or other places. And Johnny just happens to be the kid that carries that all the time. Now, you might even stop before we head in from recess and say to Johnny, "Hey, listen, you really got to make sure that you keep your hands to yourself." And he's, "Yeah, yes, I understand." And then the whole way in, he's still hitting other kids. So if we give him something to do with his hands, that requires both hands in order to carry it. We don't want it being used as a weapon. But if he is required both hands in order to carry it, then he walks in and now he's not hitting other kids. He's not grabbing other kids because he doesn't have his hands to do that with. We've actually given them something to do, which is now a support for him in order to control himself and manage himself differently. And that's kind of the type of stuff that we come up with. Ideas centered around this is an understanding of what their ability is. So what can they do given the type of resources that they have? Thank you very much for listening to this. I hope this gives you a little bit of a sense of what it would be like to be in a conference with me. Hopefully your experience was good. If you have any questions, you can email me at mike@joshuacenter.com. Thank you.